Welcome to the Ripples of Perception series. I'm Lisa Hayes.
I'm Iva Nasr.
We're so excited you're here joining us because just as casting a pebble into a pond creates ripples, so do we as we go through life.
Please stay with us through the series as Lisa and myself, in each segment, share a variety of stories, downloads, and experiences that enrich our understanding of perception.
Are you ready to get started?
More than ready. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Iva.
Today, I am surprising you with the topic because normally we might take 10 minutes maybe before we start recording. Even then, it's spontaneous, but we have at least an idea of what we're going to talk about, or a story we remembered, or an experience. Well, today I'm going with what came to me. You don't even know what we're talking about.
I do not, and I think it's kind of fun to see if I can go with it, without having any thought ahead of time.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that you'll be able to go
Spice
with
it
it.
up a little bit.
Let's spice it up. Many, many years ago, I was having recurring dream. So we're talking about dreams today.
Oh, that's spicy.
I had a recurring dream where not the same dream, the same theme of a recurring dream. And that was I would be in a dark wooded area deep in a forest. Always had a little bit of a mystical experience in it. At the time, it was mainly, though, a discomfort, like a deep discomfort, like something had happened to me in the depth of woods at some point in my soul evolution, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if it was based on actually an occurrence that had happened way back somewhere along the way, or if my psyche was interpreting something that I just needed to release into that. Okay, so it doesn't matter exactly where it came from. However, I would every so many months just have a dream like that. And a lot of times there might also be someone behind me, or I would always feel like I needed to look over my shoulder. Very unsettling. Never felt like entirely good dream. Anyway, fast forward a number of years, maybe after the last dream I had, I started making plans to leave where I was living at the time in Bloomington and deciding where I wanted to go. But I knew that something big was coming on and I was looking forward to it. And I was choosing the ocean because I love being by the water and what comes with it. Everything I tried to manifest the next move to a location oceanfront wasn't happening. And then one day, my friend Jane came to me with an article that she had gotten out of GQ magazine. She was at the time living in New York City when that publication came out. She was actually working for GQ. And she kept it. It was a 15-page article. And fast forward, I hadn't even met her yet at the time when that article came out. She moves to Bloomington from New York City. We meet, we become friends. And one day, right as I was in this contemplation of what's next, why am I not getting any more clues? She comes to me and she goes, Iva, I've been sorting papers that just now getting to since my move, and most of them were going to the recycling bin, and I came across this article. by Elizabeth Gilbert
Oh, wow.
about Eustace Conway of Turtle Island Preserve in North Carolina. She said, I don't know why. I was going with it to the recycling bin and I couldn't stop thinking about you. I know this article is for you. I read it, fast forward, so many details that make this story and experience perfect. She handed the article to me. I read it. I knew I had to call Eustace. I just knew that the next move would be to the mountains of North Carolina. And there was another channeled experience I had had just a day or two before that. Point being, the essence of this part of the story is that the answer was handed to me. So I knew I was headed to the mountains of North Carolina and not the ocean. And the dreams started coming back to me, memories of those recurring dreams of being in wooded areas and just being watched and chased and held back. So again, fast forward, I move to the mountains and very quickly fell in love with the mountains and the creeks and the waterfalls and the trails and just the silhouette of the sun, you know, with the horizon of the mountains and all of it. In the midst of all of the adjustment, however, I would start living the feelings of my dreams as I would be walking, like the paths, for example, because I lived at Turtle Island Preserve for a while. So, point being, for a long time, I would have this calling to look at something, and life presented itself in a way that led me to bring it out of dream state into a daily living experience and to come full circle in being able to release a deeply embedded fear that I had had. Anyway, so that's just one example of a type of dream. Recurring dreams that recur for a reason. They're informative. There's something that either we need to resolve or something we need to create. It doesn't always have to be something that's daunting. It could be, you know, quite the contrary. And then other types of dreams, lucid dreams. You and I have shared many episodes in our series, both this current series, Ripples of Perception, and the Dreams for Society series from a few years ago, where we shared multiple examples of dreams, prophetic dreams, anxiety dreams. So I don't know why this is coming to me today, that it's very important for us to share some of our experiences and to invite our listeners to comment with us along the way.
Oh, I love this topic. And from what I'm hearing you say in terms of the themes of dreams, at least two types of dreams. One could be prophetic, and then the other is the ability to process certain things that are happening in our lives so that we don't sabotage ourselves, so that we don't limit ourselves out of fear or frustration or anger or anything, you know. So what I'm hearing is that you were able to correlate this dream with the move to the forests and woods and mountains of the Carolinas, because the dream came on as if to, again, give you fear, yet you persevered, you went, And then when you were walking in the woods, the dream became tangible in a sense. It became merged with your awareness in the woods, and you were able to dissolve the fear. So I'm assuming you haven't had a recurring dream like that since.
I have not, and I'm processing with you now. Like I said, this topic came to me, and the memory of those recurring dreams came to me. And now, as we converse, I'm seeing more wisdom to all of it. Because at the time, Lisa, clearly I felt that I was once invaded. It felt like there was some kind of physical harm that had come to me in the past that I still somehow held on to. And the mystical pieces in the recurring dreams were also alluding to the wizard in me, to those gifts and abilities that were reawakened.
Mm-hmm.
The reawakening of these abilities started happening not too long before I moved to North Carolina. However, I was still not at the peak, at the peak of that rise. Going through the experiences I went through in the woods, in the forests of North Carolina, not only dissolved my fears and gave me back a strength that I had not had completely up to that point in my own feeling, even as a woman, it also enhanced my abilities as a seer. All of that happened in the fold of nature as well, and of course with the animals and so much else that goes to it. So to answer your question, I have not had those recurring dreams. They stopped the second that I accepted the invitation to move.
I love that, Iva, and I just love this topic, and I've got things rolling in my head, and this is how we do it, listeners, anyway. We might come up with a topic, but we just roll with it. And so what I'm thinking of that I wanted to bring up as well, it's as if you were able to do your own past life regression, or if you don't think of it as linear times, a parallel life, and you bring it in. You had a recollection of being watched in the woods. And we've got these shows, Watcher in the Woods or something. We've got Red Riding Hood. We've got Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, where they were all attacked in the woods. And so what I'm wondering is, if we hadn't had some recollection of a parallel life, we certainly get ingrained in us as a child that it's not safe to be in the mystical, metaphysical aspects of nature in the woods, where we can enhance our inner technologies, as you're saying.
100%.
Yeah. So I hear you. You're able now to go into the woods without the fear and embrace the amplification that nature gives us to activate our natural telepathic tendencies, our natural teleportation tendencies, and all those things. And maybe that's why we've got these stories that scare us to go into the woods by ourselves, especially where that's where we want to be, by ourselves, so we can kind of meditate, because we're holding ourselves back collectively from developing and empowering ourselves to be these superhumans that we already are.
I agree. Not too long ago, we shared a conversation about the dream I had when I was beheaded
I was just
in a
thinking
valley
about
of
that.
France. And at the time, that dream came to me as an answer to a question and a desire not to get laryngitis or to start losing my voice when I was about to speak my truth in public. Not just speaking in public, had no issue with that. It would normally start to happen. I would literally lose my voice when I was going to talk about something at a time. This was again a number of years ago. Something that was of that more superior conscious nature, intuition, and way beyond the healing arts, etc., etc. I have that dream. I relived it. Now that dream was not recurring. It was a one-time blast.
Yeah, you kept thinking about it.
However, it was lucid in that I felt, I heard, I smelled, you mentioned teleportation. It sure felt like I was put in a time machine and went back to that, and then fast forward with the resolution, and never again did I completely lose my voice. And if I started to even remotely feel a symptom of that, I would catch it days before it even surfaced and would not allow it to go in that direction. So that's another example. I love your wisdom and interpretation to that, how we're taken back, we're invited to rejoin the majesty of nature and the majesty of our nature, to regain vitality and confidence and to be truer to ourselves.
It's like joining the majesty of nature and the majesty of our nature. I love how you said that, and amplify each other's perfection. So what I'm sensing more than anything, Iva, is that you've processed your fear in these dreams where you no longer get the physical ailment of laryngitis, which allows you to be this most beautiful, expressive person through literature and through these podcasts, sharing your wisdom and enhancing your mystical powers when you commune with nature. So it sounds like it's a two-step process. When we process those things that we see in our dreams, we get rid of the fear and any physical or emotional ailments attached to that. And then we open ourselves up to creating these beautiful things for ourselves and others.
Well said. Do you have a dream experience of any, whether it was anxiety dream, lucid dream, a virtual healing dream, anything that comes to you? And if not, I have several I could share.
Okay. Well, I'll just briefly, what came to me were early dreams in my early adulthood, or maybe in my 30s, I can't remember, where I would wake up and they were recurring dreams. There was one, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners have had this dream. And this was shortly after I finished my education, and I'm having this recurring dream that it could be, maybe high school, let's say, where I don't even know where my locker is to get the books. I'm late for class. Then I show up for class. I finally figure out where I'm supposed to go by just meandering around the empty halls because everybody's already in the classrooms. I don't know where my syllabus is or anything like that. I show up to the classroom and they're taking a test that I completely didn't know anything about because I've missed all the classes. So that was a recurring dream. And then another dream I had a little later, after I was a mother and that kind of thing, was I'd wake up on Christmas morning in the dream, and there was no tree, there were no gifts, relatives were coming over, and the food hadn't even been started to be prepared. Yeah, so I think I must have been a little overwhelmed with life, then maybe too many.
It sounds like it. These are very powerful dreams in that more than we realize, sometimes we are flushing away anxiety, or at least taking the edge off. Although they're not comforting dreams necessarily, However, it's one way, that's my experience at least. I'm not a dream analyst, nor do I want to be much of one, except my instinct and my intuition dialogue. And these are dreams that stem from insecurity or overwhelm. And the beauty of our creative selves knows to resort to that kind of flushing out. So that, oh my goodness, I could match so many examples on that one. Was there anything else?
Well, I was just going to say, I hadn't thought about this before on those dreams because we're processing.
Yes.
Even
yes.
now, all these years later. And I'm thinking that it was a relief. I remember feeling relieved. Oh my gosh, whew. I went to all the classes. I took the tests. I got good grades. I had my syllabus. I knew where my locker was. Whew. I'm glad that didn't happen in real life. And then the other one, I got all the presents. The tree was up. All the cooking was done. Whew. So it's as if maybe my dream was saying, Lisa, you got it. You're maybe a little too busy, but you're able to function, be grateful, blah, blah, blah.
You experienced the extreme opposite, and it very likely diminished what anxiety or uncertainty you might have had. Since we're talking about dreams that seem to help us resolve something, 2 recent dreams left quite an impact on me. Very briefly, I will share. I was helping my father in his last days of life, and I gave a lot. I gave all I could. I'm sharing it in this context because after he took his last breath, of course, I miss him and I love him. And there's a process with grief that has no fixed equation. In my grief, I have questioned if I did enough for him to help him live longer. And I hadn't yet seen him in a dream when I was at the peak of that question, which isn't with me, at least not in the same intensity by far. In that first dream, I was in a big crowd of people, like at a marketplace or something. Just all I could see were heads and moving people. And at a distance, I thought I saw my father in the crowd. I was so happy. And I called his name. I'm like, Daddy, hi. And he turns his head, and now I see it is him. And I'm so excited. And then he looks at me with this fierce look and basically walks away. And I woke up shaking from this dream because at first I was excited to see him. And then I thought, is my father upset with me? Was this an imposter? Was this like some kind of interference? Very quickly, I figured it out that my uncertainty, that question of whether I did enough for him, that question became a thing that looked like my father in the dream. And that thing, that question, looked back at me to reinforce that feeling. I know this to be 100% true, that this is what happened, Lisa. It was not an evil spirit coming into my dream, or, there was no concern in that regard. Although for a split second when I woke up, I had that. When I resolved that uncertainty in my heart, and I knew, and I reviewed, and I understand destiny and all of it put together. I did an inventory, and I came through that review just at peace.
Oh, that's amazing.
At peace. Then, about 5 days later, I have a dream, and it was one of those dreams in the category of visitation, where a loved one, for example, comes to visit because they can access us. We can meet in a chamber, in a dream state, and actually connect. My father came to me, and the contrast of the feeling from one dream to another, it was light, it was pure. I didn't even realize I was dreaming. And he gave me the biggest hug, and it brings me to tears right now because it's that real. And there was no question. And this wasn't my psyche just now reflecting back to me. This one was a visitation. So that's another experience that we go through. We project our feelings and thoughts sometimes, just like you shared with your dreams when you were anxious and making it to class and missing class, and whether you had enough under the Christmas tree. And so these things process in the most powerful and beautiful way.
Oh, wow. What's coming to mind, Iva, when you talk about how you met up with your dad in those two dreams, one where you were processing, and the second one where you really felt like he was there and you were communing with him? I feel like you were there with him and he was there with you.
100%, no question.
I really feel that. I've had similar situations, similar dreams, and I know other people that have too. This is real. So let's add a third aspect of dreams. We talked about dreams can be prophetic. Dreams can help us resolve or process. And then dreams can be fun where we're meeting up with our loved ones that have crossed over, or even people that are still alive on Earth. People meet up in dreams.
Yes, I have quite a few of those. I imagine you do too.
I have to admit, I haven't had a situation where I can confirm with the other person. However, I have had tremendously lucid dreams where I'll go to work the next day and I have to seriously think about, was that a dream or did that really happen? So that when I talk to that person, it won't be kind of silly,
Yes. So much we can say about dreams and the different types of dreams, and to go into a lot more detail even on what we have shared today. I'm satisfied that we at least got this topic going, and to stay once again, and as always, true to our series,
Yes.
Ripples of Perception, just highlighting not only the power of dreams, the variety of dreams, more importantly, the ripples that come from our awakened state into the dream state, back into our awakened state, just that circular experience and the ripples that come.
This was so much fun, not knowing the topic, and it would spice things up, and you picked a spicy topic. I guess you could call dreams spicy. It depends on what the dream.
Well,
there could be a lot of spicy.
Another time we'll talk about some of the spicy dreams I've had.
To be continued.
To be continued.